wake me up to another good morning, time to go. Got that smile upon my face, 'cause there's excitement in the chase, this I know.
Well, hello, and here is another edition of Rambling Rides with Amber. Today is the runaround errand chore edition, I guess. So thanks for joining me. It is much nicer than it's been over the past several weeks. We've had about 3 to 4 weeks of minus 30 degree temperatures, and today it is plus 5 degrees, so that's very nice. That's one thing about Alberta, and something that I've learned living here, is we get chinooks. And for those of you who don't live near the mountains, what a chinook is it'll be cold, regular winter temperatures, and then you get warm air rolling over the mountains, and it warms up to sometimes plus 15, even I've seen it as high as plus 17 degrees Celsius from minus 30 a couple days before. So it is something that us Albertans are kind of used to, and it's nice. It's one of those things that makes you really appreciate the warmer days, because when you're socked in at minus 30 for 3 weeks and then all of a sudden you have a day of even plus 1 or 0, it's like, okay, everybody outside, let's go do something. So I'm just enjoying it. I went and washed my truck for the 3rd time this week. That is another thing about these temperatures, is everything turns into kind of a slushy mess, which I'm fine with right now. I have to say, I'm not complaining about that. But yeah, the animals are all feeling good. It's funny, they kind of get sluggish when it gets warm like this, because they're all used to this colder temperature. And many of you have expressed concern about the animals when it's this cold, but I encourage you to watch some of the different nature documentaries on animals that live in this type of climate. The wild horses, the deer, the elk, all of the animals that are so used to this weather, and they don't have added feed or shelter or warm barns or anything like that, and they seem to get along just fine. Now, it does help, of course, when you have a human to take care of the animals, and they're able to have that added feed to keep them nice and fat and healthy and happy and warm during the cold days. But they seem to do just fine. And when I look out on those cold days and they're running around and playing and chasing each other, it makes me happy to know that they don't really seem concerned about the cold at all. The dogs, on the other hand, you can see Rain in the background. She spends a lot of time driving around with me, because I feel like it's less boring than just hanging out in the house by herself. Even if she's not getting the same exercise, at least she's getting some mental stimulation, because she's driving around with me. And I know a few people said, well, what do you do with her when you go into these stores? Again, my truck doesn't really drop below 0 when I'm out running in and out of stores. So she is quite happy in the truck watching other people, and I'll crack the window for her, and she is definitely enjoying this lifestyle, I think, and she's my little co-pilot, so I'm happy to have her with me. Remy, our big shepherd, she mostly stays on the farm. She's older now, and she's a large dog, so jumping in and out of the truck isn't as easy as it used to be. And sometimes she'll go to work with Sean, and just if he's got a lot of running around to do, she'll just hang out in the truck with him. But she seems to be happy on the farm. She's pretty relaxed, just either laying on the porch, or if it's colder, she stays in the house or the shop. And the cats have been great. They've been in the barn for the last 3 weeks. They do come inside for cuddles and that sort of thing into the house, but Sean and I spend most of our time out in the shop barn area. So for those of you who haven't seen some of my explanations on this shop barn that we created, I'll explain it a little bit now. So we built one building, but it's divided into 2. So they're 2 separate parts that are completely closed off and sealed from one another. One is the barn side, and one is our workshop side. So the workshop side is used for trucks, equipment, vehicles, building things, basically anything non-animal related. And Sean also has an office out there. And then the barn side is for all the animal related things. So that's where I store all of the tack and the feed supplies, and that's right now where the ducks live, and the rooster lives, and the rabbits live, and the cats, basically anyone who doesn't do as well outside, like the horses and the cattle, and Betty. Betty's fine too. I know a lot of you have been asking about her. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the catch up on what's been going on. I've been out for 3 rides this week. It's been so beautiful, and the horses were just kind of given the month off. When it's this cold, it's not good for them to be out exercising. It's not good for us either to be running around and exerting ourselves in -30. So we just gave them the month off, and they were quite happy about it. Now, mind you, when I say this, I know that the situation is different for everyone, wherever you live. So don't take what I'm saying as something that will work for you. Our horses are all out together in a huge field, and they're able to run and play and exercise themselves. And so they don't rely on us for mental stimulation or exercise or even bonding that they need to have, because they have all the other horses for that. So they kind of mimic their own herd structure as you would see out in the wild. Not saying my horses are like wild horses, but they do have each other for entertainment, enjoyment, and socialization, all of those things. So my situation, I don't need to be riding my horses every day. But if your horse is kept in a smaller area or kept by itself, for sure, you need to be out exercising it every day. You need to be giving it that one-on-one, just kind of bonding time. So again, what works for me might not work for you, but I just kind of tell you guys what my situation looks like and what I feel is best for my animals. And I do believe that horses and cattle should be outside, and they should be mingling and socializing with other animals of their own kind. That just seems to make them happier, and knock on wood, I've never had the health concerns that come with horses that are cooped up inside or smaller confinement, because horses are naturally on the go. When you watch a wild horse herd, which I've had the opportunity to do several times, they're constantly moving. They're constantly covering ground to search for food, to search for water, to find new territory. So they're always moving. And I personally believe that our horses, even as domesticated as they are, they need to continually be moving to be happy. So another thing that I do with both my horses and my cattle, and you might not have the opportunity to do this if you don't have a large enough space, but I put the feed at one end, like the hay that they would be eating at one end of the field, and their water at the complete other end, so it encourages them to constantly be moving. And at our old place, we had about a 90-acre hay field, so I would put their feed, I would drive the skid steer all the way to the back of the property and put the feed in the far corner and their water in the opposite corner, so that it encouraged them to cover that ground just out of necessity. So that's one thing. If you have cattle and horses and you're wondering how to keep them moving through the winter if you're not exercising them, that's just kind of a nice rule of thumb, is to always put food and water as far apart from each other as you can, so that it naturally makes them move around. And yeah, they all seem to just enjoy each other's company too. Right now I've got them split into 2 different pens. So our older horses are all in one field with a slow feeder net. So the hay that they're eating right now is it's called a slow feeder, but it's a net wrapping the bale so that they can only pull out a little bit at a time. So it basically mimics natural grazing. Because when a horse is grazing, it will just pick little bits of grass at a time. And when they pick it through this bale net, then it kind of encourages slower eating, and they won't overeat. Because some of the older horses, they'll just eat and eat and eat. And that's not healthy either. So that encourages a slower, more natural grazing technique. But with my young horses, both Finch and Ranger, I have him turned out with the cows, and so that they can have unlimited feed because they're growing, and it's not going to hurt them any. And then the 2 of them can have each other to play with, and they run around, and it also gets them used to cattle too, which I think is really important for horses. No matter what you're going to be doing with them, it's just nice that they can have some of that socialization with other animals. And Betty's really good for young horses to see too. Betty is an alpaca, for those of you who don't know. But a lot of horses are very afraid of alpacas. And it's not only that they look strange, because they do look very strange to horses, they also have a different smell. So alpacas, if you've been around llamas and alpacas, you'll know they have this, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like a lanolin. What you're smelling is their coat, their wool, and the oils that make up that texture. But it's a strong smell. And so horses, a lot of times, they'll not recognize that smell, and they'll just identify it as a predator. So having a variety of animals out with your young horses, I think, is an excellent thing, just to get them used to whatever you can get them used to. So when they encounter that in the future, they're not going to be afraid of it. They're going to know what it is, and I think that's always a good thing. My horses, anytime I come across, if I'm out in the bush and an elk crosses the path in front of me, or a deer or a cow or whatever it might be, my horses are not worried about it at all, because they know, oh, it's just another strange hoofed creature that Amber probably would have brought home. So that's one thing that I like to do with young horses. Ranger is doing great. He's starting to really understand personal space and respect. So Ranger is a 6-month-old foal, I think he's about 6 months now, who was orphaned. He was a wild horse, so he was out living in a wild herd of horses, and his mother unfortunately did not make it. And luckily, he was found by a photographer who was out taking photographs of the wild herds. And they contacted WOS, which is the Wild Horses of Alberta Society, and came out and rescued the little guy, took him back to their center, and then I got a call, and they asked if I wouldn't mind taking the little guy on and fostering him and raising him up until he's a little bit older, till we can start training him and riding him and that sort of thing. But one of the problems with orphan foals is that people like to spoil them because they're young and cute, and they're usually being bottle fed. So when Ranger first came to me, he was about 2 months old, and he was a pushy little bugger. He would come flying around the corner when he saw a person and full on body check them. Like, he would run in and push his chest into you. He would rear up, he would strike out, he'd pin his ears. He was a little bugger, I have to say. And so for the first month I had him, I completely ignored him. And you might be thinking, oh, that's so cruel, he's just a baby. But that actually might have saved his life, because when babies get spoiled, and I'm putting this out as a general note for anyone who's raising young foals, especially orphan foals, please don't baby them, because they're not going to stay that small forever. And as they get larger, they become very dangerous if it's not kind of managed from a young age. And so if he was a full-grown 1,200-pound horse and he came flying around the corner and reared up or body checked me, that's extremely dangerous. And at that point, it's really hard to reverse that when they're an adult horse. So I completely ignored him, didn't touch him, didn't pet him, didn't give him any loving of any kind for probably close to 2 months. I'm going to say it was about 6 weeks. And he got everything he needed from my own horses, just like he would in his regular herd. So I turned him out with all of my horses. I said, you're on your own, buddy. You need to figure out this whole hierarchy system. And he tried pushing around my older horses just like he tried pushing me around. And it was pretty quickly that he learned, oh, you don't do that, because those horses would not tolerate that. And they do it in a lot more aggressive way than I would. And at first, I really watched him because I didn't want him to get hurt. But I also knew that that was the best thing for him, was just to learn that herd structure. And so I fed him. I didn't just completely leave him on his own, but I did not hand feed him. What I would do is I would pour his food. He was getting still milk replacer and some, I called it cereal, but like some baby horse kibble. And I would pour that into his bucket, and then I would go let him into the pen to eat, so that he wasn't associating me with that food. He just knew the food was in the pail, he was going to go get it. I wasn't carrying the pail out to him. I wasn't having any association with that food, so that he wasn't pushy to me. Because when he saw me in the beginning, the first thing he thought was, oh, she's going to bring me food. I'm going to come and push on her. So as soon as I disconnected that, and I now was just the person that opened gates, he got a lot better. And so he's now weaned from formula. I'm still giving him some of his crunchies once a day, just to kind of give him some added vitamins and minerals, because he is growing, and nutrients. But he's doing really well. And now when I walk in the pen, he'll come running over to me, and I've started, petting him, picking up his feet, doing those things now that he's respectful. But the second he starts getting pushy, it's game over. It's like, nope, this is not what I'm in here for. I don't want you to be this. So he's starting to get a lot better. And then on the opposite side, Finch, who was very wary of people, like he hadn't been touched at all until he was over a year old. So he kind of has that, I don't know what your intentions are. But he has come around because Ranger is so friendly. So when Ranger comes running up to me, and Finch is the only other horse in that pen with him, then Finch says, oh, what are you doing? I want to go see. And so both of them will come up And each evening I go out and I pet them all over and pick up their feet and just kind of get them used to people that way, so that when I do start working with them to do other things, then it's going to be a little bit easier. So that's an update on the young ones. Sean's 2 horses haven't done a whole lot. Nitro and Hippie have just kind of been out enjoying life, half retirement mode right now. It's just been too cold to take them anywhere, and even these indoor arenas that are heated, it's too much of a adjustment from minus 30 into a heated arena, so it's not that great for them. So we just gave all the older horses kind of a month off, which was totally fine for them. I know some of you have asked what we do for shoes on the horses' feet in the winter. We pull all the shoes off because shoes can be very slippery on ice and snow, and it's best, and also not only that, but when there's a shoe on the horse, it's more likely for snow and ice to get packed in there, and they can actually look like they're walking on their tippy toes because there'll be snowballs inside their foot and they can't walk properly, and it can be very dangerous for them, especially if you're not getting out there 3-4 times a day to get that snow and ice out of there. So we pull the shoes off. There are special shoes you can put on them for the winter, which some of you may have seen that I put on Cruz last year when he went to go work throughout the winter on icy ground. And they have snow pads in them. So in the shoe, there's a plastic kind of rubbery pad that goes in there to keep the snow from balling up in their foot, because as the horse moves, that plastic flexes and it automatically just kind of naturally pushes that snow out. They also put boreum or ice nails, or it goes by a lot of different names, but it's basically little tiny, it'd be similar to golf cleats. If you guys have worn golf cleats, they kind of grip into the ground. So the same thing, it's just little ice picks on their shoes so that they can not slip. But for horses that aren't being ridden a whole lot out on the icy ground, it's best, in my opinion, that they just go barefoot. And again, a lot of people were asking, well, don't their feet get cold? But no, they don't, because horses have hooves, which basically is like your fingernail material, but the very end of your fingernail where it has no feeling, that's kind of what the horse is making contact with the snow. And like I said, you look at all these deer and elk and cattle and wild horses and everything that are out in this climate, and their feet don't get cold. It's like they're wearing the best insulated running shoes. Well, you wouldn't wear running shoes in the snow. You know what I mean. They're well insulated and they don't seem to feel it at all. The dogs, on the other hand, we have to watch their feet in the snow, because if it is kind of below minus 10, I start to watch them, and you'll notice, because they'll pick their feet up and they'll kind of hold them like this, and that's definitely a message to get them back inside. But Rain loves the snow, and so does Remy. So if it's minus 5 or above, they're outside most of the day, and that's their own choice. You know, they can come in and out. There is a dog door to go into the heated barn, but they want to be outside. They play in the snow, they lay in the snow. So if they weren't enjoying it, they would probably choose a different option. What else can I get you guys caught up on? See, I'm good at rambling, huh? I'm just headed into High River right now, the town of Hudson, if you're a Heartland watcher. And I'm picking up my mail that's here. I've got a few errands to run. And I don't know if you can see the scenery, but I'm just entering the town. So those of you who have been here might recognize it. And it's a full day today of getting caught up on things. I've got a lot of errands to run, a lot of things just to catch up on, fan mail, photo orders, all that kind of thing. The rental space that I've been renovating, I'm kind of in the middle of waiting for a few more things. So when I can, I'll get a video out. I've been kind of taking videos as I went with that, but then I keep forgetting. So I'm one of those people, I'm not a documenter. So when I start doing something, I just get in work mode, and I'm usually by myself. So I just go and start doing it. And then I'm like, oh, right, I was going to take a video of that. So I apologize for that. But I do have some before videos and some middle videos. And then when it's all done, I'll get the final product and put together a little video for you guys to see what that looks like. It's been a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of work. Renovations are never easy. I've done lots of them, and especially with the rentals, because you're trying to pick something that you hope someone else will like, right? You're not decorating a space for you, but I just hope that people enjoy my taste, I guess, is what it comes down to. So that's where I'm at with that. I'm just pulling in to the post office right now, so I'm gonna sign off on this Rambling Rides. But I've been thinking a lot, especially since I did my first live Instagram the other day, that I should probably maybe do another one just on my own, and then I can do some question and answers for you guys, and have it so that it's a little bit more interactive, because I know that you guys really enjoy this Rambling Rides stuff and you've been missing it, and I do apologize. It's been so busy, and I also have had a lot of people asking about cameos. Yes, I do plan to get on Cameo. I am so sorry for those that I told I was going to be back on a month ago. It's just been really busy, and I have a hard time managing my time. So now that it's the new year, new me. Not really. I think I'll just be better at kind of planning out my days. And as the renovations are starting to slow down too, no, they're not. I still have lots to do on the reno side. But anyway, I figure that I can make sure to keep everything in line and get everything done in a day. And hopefully we'll be back at Filming Heartland in April. That's my hope. I have not heard yet, but there's positive talk. So I hope that we're back at that, because I hope you guys enjoyed season where are we on? 15. I hope you enjoyed season 15. I did. I thought it was really well done, and some cool horse stories. So I will sign off with that and go in and grab my mail. You gonna hang out here, Rain? Yeah? Well, I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Rambling Rides with Amber and Rain. Take care, guys. Stay safe.